I am so happy to be here with Maude Hirst, and it's our first meeting, and I'm so curious to learn about you. I've heard so much about you already. The team raves about you, and they use your meditation techniques. But I don't know enough. So can you start to fill me in, Maude?
Absolutely. So about 5 years ago, I started my meditation journey. My background was acting, so I was as a trained actor and worked professionally for a decade. And then
that's why I recognise your face so clearly.
And then I kind of went through a bit of a life crisis as I was approaching my 30s. I came out of a big TV show, went through a horrible breakup, had to kind of leave my house very quickly, and I was confronted with a lot of unknowns. And in that space, I didn't know anything really about meditation and yoga before, but I started exploring meditation as a practice for my own well-being.
Yeah. And
through that, I suddenly kind of started growing in self-confidence. I started growing in knowing about myself, really exploring. I'd been acting since I was 10.
Wow.
And
how did you let go of that then, Maude? Because that was your identity.
Well,
so how did you have the fortitude in that deep moment, that dark moment, to even know to head to meditation?
I felt an intuitive pull towards it. And I think one of the things that I've learned through my meditation journey is that we are always guided towards what's right for us.
Yeah.
If we just stop and listen, we just normally are so fast in life that we don't pause and stop.
Because it's easier to keep going, right? Because listening means you have to face the pain.
Totally. Well, we face the pain, but also we seek like repetition as humans, I think. And so what feels comfortable is what we know.
Absolutely.
And stepping into the unknown is uncomfortable until you do it.
Yes.
And then it's actually quite brilliant because you realise that you can untrap yourself from the things that don't work, and there's spaciousness for finding out things that feel much more nourishing and loving, I think, in life.
But how were you able to break that cycle? Like, that's the hardest part, right? Absolutely. Once you're there, you know it feels so good and sweet, so you do it. But how are you able to break the addiction to not feeling good? Like that breakup, there must have been lots of times in that relationship when it didn't feel good, but you quite liked the not feeling good to some level?
Absolutely. I talk so much, particularly at the moment, about our addiction to pain.
Exactly.
Because again, it's this repetition. What feels comfortable is what we know. So once we get into quite a pain cycle, that whether it's like anxiety, whether it's whatever feeling that is, we tend to stay in it because that feels more comfortable than trying something new. So for me, it was just about exploring something new, letting go of this identity that you spoke about. One of the things I'm really interested in is how much identity we put into our careers and how damaging it can be, because actually we are deeper than our careers. We're much like bigger than that as people. And we limit ourselves when we only listen to that kind of identity of, like, for me, for years it was the actor, and so everything I did was around being the actor, and how people responded to me was being the actor. And when I stepped away from it, it was scary because on the outside it was like less glamorous, but what I felt on the inside was 10 times more glamorous. I felt like, oh, I finally know myself. I can stand in front of people and honestly talk. I can stand in front of myself in the mirror and look with affection and love and kindness in a way that I didn't before. And so the fear of kind of breaking that cycle disappeared because I started feeling healthier.
Wow, because when you're acting, you're always giving them what they want from you, aren't you? Yeah. Even in your life, I guess, you see that person, you size up who they want you to be. And that must be a really confusing place to be, because who are you?
Yeah.
But you figured it out. And who taught you, and how quickly did the shift happen?
I think the shift is ongoing. I don't think when you say I figured it out, I feel like I'm figuring it out slowly, right? I think it's always a journey, and that's what's exciting about it, because you think you get to know yourself, and then you get to know yourself a little bit deeper, and then a little bit deeper, which I find fascinating.
What's been the biggest thing that's tripped you up recently? Because I have that all the time. Like, I meditate, and you're right. You never think you've got it sussed ever, because there's ever deeper layers of the onion to peel, which is really wonderful as well. But every now and then I think, man, how did I get back here?
Yes, yeah. And sometimes it can feel like you're back at the start of the journey. So what trips me up is, it's coming away from a regular practice. And I notice it so strongly. It's like at the moment, I'm going through a stressful house move. And when I'm in the process of that, sometimes I wake up and I think, God, I've got 50 things to do. And I jump straight in and I forget to do my daily practice. And then a week later, I'm like, I feel really anxious, really stressed. What is happening? And I'm like, oh, I didn't meditate.
You're right, because that happened to me yesterday. I didn't meditate in the morning. I had a terrible day. My brain was all over the place. I couldn't focus. And I even got up this morning and I looked at my husband like, it was really bad. I looked at him like, your fault, but I'm not doing it again, because he wakes up later than me. But he's not stopping me at all. We have different routines. So I got up, I meditated, I took my time, I read a good book, and already I know the day's going to be good. Already I know it. And it's quite simple, but profound, right?
Really profound. And I think people think that in order to meditate, you have to already be calm and you have to do like hours every day, but it really isn't that. It's like you can do 5 to 10 minutes can actually have a profound impact on you, actually, if you just dedicate that much time.
So we in Ayurveda say that we're all different, right? There's not a one size fits all, and therefore meditation also, different types suit different people. So what other types of meditation you recommend? Like, okay, for someone, we as Vata, we would call these people very fast, they can't concentrate, they're thinking of 17 different things at once. You've got Vata in you, and you know, they're very creative people, they're dynamic, but it is quite hard for them to slow down, and yet they're the ones who need it the most. So what would you do for that type of personality?
Give a very kind of practical breath, so that they have something very like simple to focus on.
Great.
Instead of just this idea of like spaciousness and sitting in nothingness, actually having a breath to focus on, so that you give your mind that kind of structure.
Yeah.
Also, there's other ways to meditate. You can meditate through movement, you can meditate walking, so doing something that also kind of stimulates your body, so that you kind of help your mind quieten through kind of something physical. Can be really helpful.
That's
as well.
a good one for Kapha, who are can become quite lethargic and quite down, especially in winter. We all are a bit like that. So I think that movement one sounds like a really good call for them. Then you have the Pitta personality, who is very they don't have much compassion for themselves or others when they're in that moment. They're very supercharged, ambitious, go, go, go. So what would be a good technique for them?
Soothing, anything that can really calm. And so again, breath work, but the opposite, like a really calming, balancing breath. So equalizing your inhale and exhale, finding things that really allow body relaxation practices, like yoga nidra, where you literally follow all of the muscles in your body and relax them. That can be a really good one.
And do you offer that on your... offer that on your site, or one-to-one, or...?
I have a membership called the Members Club for the Mind, and we do all different kinds of meditation and yoga as well, so kind of bringing movement into it. But the idea is that every practice is really its own unique thing depending on what's happening, and everyone can find something that works for them. And
does this feel like your purpose?
Yes. It's so strange. I mean, I thought acting was my purpose. I really did. And then,
but is that still in you?
Creativity is. I mean, I never say never. One of the things about identity that I'm challenging is that we need to stop saying that I am this thing, and say I am Maude, who does all the things I love.
Yes,
and
I love
therefore
that.
Acting can be part of that if it comes up.
I love that. And you may not love it tomorrow, but you may love it the next day.
And also to be in this constant evolution, that the thing you wanted when you were younger might not be the thing you want at this point in life, and what you want now might not be the thing you want in a decade to come. And I think what I've learned is kind of being open to all of it. But what I do feel really strongly is when I teach meditation and when I sit to meditate, it's what I was always supposed to do. So whether this is forever or just for now, I really feel like I have a gift and an offering through meditation that I'm like really desperate to share with the world.
And it fills you up?
Oh, so much. I literally feel like I plug in and charge myself up every time I teach or meditate for myself.
What's been the biggest shift you've seen in one of your clients?
Huge shifts in many different ways. And again, I work with individuals, and so everyone's on their own individual journey. But I've worked with people that have never had a relationship into being in a really like loving, open relationship.
What's that about, do you think?
Self-worth and self-love. I think the more that you love yourself and get to know and trust yourself, the more you can be open to a relationship. So helping people rediscover their own self-love is really primarily what I do in all my sessions, because I believe that the depth that we know ourselves, the depth that we start to appreciate and love ourselves, that kind of reflects into everything we do. I've helped people leave corporate work into starting their own businesses and feeling very like they're in line with what they really want to do in their purpose.
Gosh.
And I've helped people come from being in quite a hard, deep place into feeling more lightness in the world as well, which is such a beautiful...
I see that on your face. I see that on your face. So those people that make the shift, How long does it generally take of you working with someone one-to-one for them to get to that point where they start? I mean, obviously they have to be ready, but assuming they are ready, average time frame?
I mean, it can completely change. Like some of my clients I've worked with for 2 years, but their shift has happened within 6 months.
But they want to continue the good feeling.
Yeah, because, you know, as we know, it's always this constant work.
Yeah.
Other people can come in and have instant shifts, because I also work with energy healing, and that, you know, lots of it can happen very quickly, very deeply, but really gently. And for me, the base of all of it is that in us we have belief systems, often that are unkind towards ourselves without us knowing. When you can figure out what that base limiting belief is, everything shifts. And so it can happen really in a few sessions. It can be a really quick shift if everyone's ready for it when they come in. But secondly, if we can get to, if they're open enough and kind of vulnerable enough to be able to explore their deepest things, things really begin to shift really quickly for people.
So a lot of it is about shame, right? They feel a sense of shame for something that is not even theirs to feel anymore. It was a childhood thing. And, you know, simple as I remember in school, there was a girl who stood up. She was going to give a talk. She was 8. I don't know why she comes back to my mind. I sometimes think, I hope she's okay. That's why she comes to my mind. She stood up to speak, because we always had to speak on a Friday to our class, and she wet her pants on the floor in front of everyone. The shame she must have felt because everyone laughed at her. But poor girl was 8. And the teacher probably didn't let her go to the loo. And it's just like, and you carry that. Instead of saying, you poor thing, this doesn't belong to you anymore. Yeah. And a lot of it is that old, and it could be small.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it takes over your life.
Yeah, and you know, it can be shame, but it can also be other emotions that we hold. And like shame, guilt, sadness, blame. Like there's so many different things that we internalise as kids that we don't realise aren't our fault at those moments. And as you get older and as you get brave enough to do the work and the self-work on yourself, you realise that isn't true. It isn't you. You don't need to hold that. That was one emotion or one situation that happened. That doesn't define who we are, because ultimately who we are is much deeper and much more profound than that. And if we can allow ourselves to get brave to look at all of that stuff, to realise, oh, that was maybe the thing that triggered a lot of my belief systems about myself. Like my journey through a lot of this work was my parents' divorce when I was 6 months old.
Wow.
And
was it a tricky divorce? Was it a?
I mean, I was 6 months, so I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, as all divorces are, you know, 3 young kids. It was 3
tricky. Of them. So you were the youngest child.
I was the baby, of 3, and my mum is incredible and has been an incredible single mum for our whole lives. And how I internalised that was, I'm not lovable because ultimately parents split up. Completely untrue, completely not my responsibility. I know that all in theory, but my internal body experienced this thing of, one, like I don't trust men, and secondly that I am not lovable. So my whole life I've been like trying to prove my worth and my love, and acting was part of that. Like I needed people to validate that I was lovable. So getting a job felt that. So I went through this, and then after a while when I figured out meditation and I figured out my own kind of healing work, and I was like, oh God, of course that wasn't me and my responsibility. Of course I'm lovable. I'm a human. Like we're all lovable. Yeah. And I went on this huge journey. I've now met possibly the most incredible man in the world. And
did you feel that coming?
I felt enough deep love for myself that I felt brave enough to jump into a healthy, loving dynamic. So I felt it coming as in I'd done so much work on myself that I hoped that would be reflected in a partnership, and it has been.
Has your work helped your mother?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it always trickles, doesn't it? It trickles through the whole dynamic. Yeah. It's helped all of my family dynamics.
Do they all meditate?
No, nobody really meditates yet.
But seeing you, do they not want to delve in?
Yeah, my mum does yoga a lot of the time with me now, which is lovely.
That's lovely.
And no, they all have their own kind of modalities, you know, whether it's through therapy or everyone's kind of on their own path through it. But what it has done is open up a conversation of vulnerability and a knowing that it's safe for us to talk about like what is happening and open up really honest conversations.
Your father?
No,
he's not in the picture.
Not at the moment, but it's, you know, I also feel like we were talking about before, the things that are hardest parts of our lives are also the most beautiful lessons. And absolutely. I feel actually all I feel is like I've realised going back what that thing that happened in my very early years made me do was become so empathetic that I just care about everyone's well-being, and I want everyone to be happy, and whatever that looks like, and however dynamics work in family relationships, which are always complex, all I wish is like love and happiness for everyone. And I hope that, you know, you can't fix people, you can't solve, everyone's on their own journey. But as long as you kind of focus on your own healing and making sure that your own dynamics are healthy as much as they can be, I think it's all we can wish for.
Sometimes when I find myself judging my son, who's 19, and I'm judging because I want the world to be kind to him, right? I want the world to love him. And so if I see something that is in me, if I notice it in him, I know it's in me, and the best thing I can do is to not say it, but to work on myself, because it will automatically heal him. Actually, he's a really incredible young man, but it's whatever I'm feeling inadequate in, or did feel inadequate in, that I notice in him. Whatever I wasn't loved for or seen for, my perception, not the reality, is what I might pick on with him. But actually, he lives in quite a kind world where people are not that judgmental, I think. You know, I think this generation they've got each other's backs. I mean, I know there's a lot of trolling and all of that, but they have generally, you didn't see people who looked different when I was younger, you know, people modelling, and now you see all sorts of people, and it's just wonderful. So everything we see in someone else, you're seeing love, you're wanting to give love, it's because you see it in yourself, you're seeing it in everyone. So those wounds are definitely healed, whereas I still sometimes find myself projecting, even with people I love, because I really do want their protection, but I've just got to work on myself.
I always say that everyone, the closest people to us, are literally mirrors
100%.
Of ourselves and whatever's going on. And so instead of feeling like it's a blame on you to have to heal that, also just looking at it like, okay, wow, this is coming up for me to look at in myself. And so when you notice that the dynamic feels slightly out of kilter, you're like, oh, what is it? Like, kind of go in with intrigue rather than blame on yourself. And like, this is a moment that I can learn something. There's a moment of deepening here, because I'm noticing that maybe there's some judgment I've still got towards myself that I can
100%.
look at.
And I think the hardest people to really love with all your being, in some ways, not love, accept, are your family. It's easy to love and accept a stranger. You don't know what they're about. You only see the facade they show you. But when it's your family, you know everything, and all those things trigger you. So if you can get comfortable with them and really love and accept them, and have them love and accept you, I think that's when you know it's working. And really.
And it's a challenge, and it's this continual thing, because of course our biggest triggers come from those closest to us,
100%.
family. And that's where all of our triggers also come from. So it's so integrated, right? Because not only are they triggering us in the present, often, you know, it's our family dynamics where all of our pain comes from in the first place. So it's this constant juggle of like giving, receiving, also knowing that like this is my pain, and it's also my space to be able to heal the most in, because if I can take that responsibility for my own healing in this process, even though it's painful, that's where the biggest things start to change.
And I'm going to go back to your partner that you met. When did you meet your partner?
2 and a bit years ago.
And are you opposites, would you say?
No, actually, we're quite similar in kind of where we are in our family dynamics, in our empathy. One of the things my mum said actually at our engagement party was she's always known that I was really highly empathic, and she never really thought I'd meet somebody equally as empathic. But Toby has this amazing ability to be the same kind of level of empath, and all his friends say the same thing about him. But together in our relationship, it could be seen as, I guess some people like the opposite and the attraction of that, and I think that can also work as a dynamic, but it's really lovely to know that my heart's being held by him in the same depth that I'm holding his. There's this kind of lovely...
So was he also at the point where something had shifted in him, the fact that you attracted each other, or was he already down that journey some time ago?
No, he's actually not really very much on a spiritual journey. But
he just is.
He is.
He just is.
And also we met in lockdown, and he was going online, but it was such a weird thing because I was refusing to go online, and then my friend said, if you want to meet somebody, the only way to meet somebody right now is online, because everyone's locked in their houses. So I was like, okay, well, let's give it a go. And Toby was one of the first people that I spoke to. We had 2 Zoom dates. We just spoke for hours, and then we met, and it's just been a beautiful thing. But he had started meditating through lockdown, and he kind of went through his own like dip in lockdown and realising what was truly important to him. And so I think we both met at this level of honesty, which I'd never experienced before. And I think because he had done therapy, I'd done some therapy, you're more comfortable going in exploring emotions, which I'd never, like, to talk about where your insecurities lie very early on in a relationship.
That's so good.
Yeah, it was like unheard of.
Because then it doesn't blindside someone. They know what to expect and how to support you through that.
Yeah.
That's so good. Right, I'm going to put this on you. Sorry, we didn't even say hello everyone. We didn't even say we're going to be live. So we should have announced it because we're so lucky to have Maude here. And I'm going to put this on you. We know what it's for: protection, connection and well-being. I'll tie it 3 times. And the 3 little bells that we put on are gentle reminders that I'm going to ask you about. So the first is to value our past, good or bad. What is the biggest lesson that your past has taught you, that has given you the gift today?
Empathy. Empathy is the gift.
Okay. So there's nothing bad about the past because it has brought you to this sweet moment. What is it that is lighting your fire in this moment?
Connection and like reflection, I think. Being slow in a world that's very fast, finding moments of being slow.
That's lovely. And what is it that you hope for the future?
For everybody to kind of wake up to the importance of nature and reconnection.
Oh, that's wonderful. Does that make you want to leave London?
We are moving further.
Oh my goodness,
We're moving to where hi everyone. We're moving to where there is more green space. I just desperately I love London. I love the buzz. I think like there is so much multicultural magic in this city, so I never want to be too far from it. I love so much about it, but I also crave water and trees. So like having that balance is lovely.
And it's so easy to get into London now, isn't it? And I find that actually when you live in London, you don't explore it as much as you might if you... I know there's an energy to the people around you, but more and more are moving out now, so it's not... So living out of London, and what... If Maude could dream really big, and I'm sure you do, and the mission that you're on were to be at its fullest, what would that look like?
Making everybody meditate, making the world meditate. I mean, my whole ethos behind my business is making meditation accessible. Yeah. And I just feel if people could understand that this isn't a mystical practice, that only a few people can do it, it's this absolute being with yourself, that if we could all do it a little bit more, I think the world would be more compassionate. I think we'd be more compassionate to ourselves, which ultimately reflects in the world around us. And at the moment where there's a lot of division, a lot of uncertainty, I really feel like it could be a solution for togetherness that really is needed.
Why were we not taught it in school? It's crazy, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, if
Is
only.
it beginning to happen now?
I hope so. I really hope so. I think it depends on the teachers. I think there are some teachers that are doing this work and helping to share that to kids, but
my daughter went to a school called St James. It's in West Kensington, and at the beginning of every class they would meditate, and at the end of every class they would meditate. They would give thanks for what they're about to learn, what they did learn, and just to get back into the present before moving to the next class. And they would learn Sanskrit. They still do.
Wow.
From the age of 4. I mean, it's incredible, and it's in West Kensington. So when you have a baby, you might need to move. And if it's a boy, there's one in where is it? Somewhere South London. So it's just incredible. Yeah. And I think that's why she was so able to cope with anything that came at her, because she had that grounding. And she would always just say, have love and joy in your heart. Have love and joy. And it came from school. It didn't come from me. You know, it's not... Yeah, it didn't come from me. It came from school. But the fact that I chose that school somewhere along the line, I must have known something. But school has a lot to answer for as well. Yeah. And they can do so much to strengthen our children and, you know, build a better future. So you would just want everyone to meditate, and you're on a mission to do that one. And you do private and you do mass meditations as well.
Yes, so I have a membership called the Members Club for the Mind, which is a beautiful community that's been around for over 2 years now.
So you started that after lockdown?
In lockdown. Yeah, I was doing courses already, and then I kind of made it a membership. It's just such a lovely community that's global.
And do the community all talk to one another?
They do. They're all supported. Then we meet once a year or twice a year. It might start in full retreats, so we kind of come together. But most of it's online, which is beautiful. Yeah. I do lots of one-to-one work, and then also I'm starting these courses. My next one is called Intuitive Career Masterclass.
Oh, I love that.
The idea is everybody I've been speaking to is really struggling in their career.
Yes.
People feel a lack of purpose, they feel a bit lost, and so I'm working with an amazing friend of mine called Ellie Turner, and we're basically bringing the strategy of business and career development, but into a kind of meditation mindfulness. So you get rid of your clearing your limiting beliefs, and then working into how to structure a career that feels much more aligned with yourself and much more, like your own true desire.
Wow, that's incredible. When will that start?
It's going to start in a month, probably
Right.
in May. So we're getting people in right now with some interest. So,
And people can sign up now
Yeah.
through your site. I love that, because if you spend your life doing the thing that your heart doesn't desire, what a waste of a life. And what a waste for people who could benefit from your brilliance if only you were doing, like if you'd stayed in acting, you'd have robbed so many people of being able to feel so good. Knowing your acting career, do you ever feel like maybe specialising in working with actors because you know that side of it?
No, I just want to specialise in humans. Like they can
Oh,
be
I love
anything.
that.
It's like I just
love
think
that.
we're all on our own journeys, and
Mm.
I think actors certainly need some of
Yeah.
this, because I think there's a reason. I mean, acting is such a wonderful, creative, collaborative experience, and then the other side of it is very lonely, very much like seeking approval from
Yeah.
people, constantly needing to sell yourself and audition. It's quite a hard, but so that also attracts a lot of people that are needing that in life. So I
But
think
if they meditate, I guess they can detach the persona from the heart, right?
absolutely,
And then it makes it easier, and probably they start to get more work because they're just not attached to it anymore.
absolutely,
And
and
it's-
in any career, that's
In any
the case,
career,
right?
yes. So that's what you'll be working on.
Yes.
I love that. I love that,
Yeah.
Maude. What you're and how do you find it extraordinary how quickly you've built this career from acting? Like the step change is extraordinary, right?
Yeah, I do, and I think I trust the process again, that this is supposed to happen, and like this masterclass that we're going to do, it's the same thing. Once you get very clear on your purpose,
Yeah.
it happens quite quickly, and not
Wow.
because I don't feel in acting I felt this energy was pushed, and like I really wanted it, and now it's like I do really want my career to be successful, but because I want people to meditate, not because I'm like
Yeah.
this career driven, like I'm like it, just allowing it to unfurl how it should in a time where I really feel that meditation's needed. I just keep showing up, almost just saying yes to things, not things that don't feel in alignment,
Sure,
but
yeah.
like thinking like, yes, this is going to happen in its own natural way. There's a path that's already kind of created for me, and the more I kind of trust, the more I get to know my own purpose. It kind of has just happened naturally, rather than feeling like I have to push and get everything done. It's a really different energy.
So had you still been acting, but in this mindset, I guess even that could have been hugely successful, right?
I'm just hugely different. I
And
always
different,
look
yes.
back and I just think, God, I wish I'd had this. There was
Yes.
an actor
I
on
can
Vikings
imagine.
who used to meditate, and he used to disappear and then come back, and where he was like, I was really nervous about doing this huge monologue, and then he'd go in his dressing room, come out and be calm and just deliver it. And I at the time was like, what is he doing? There's like a magic thing that I
Yeah.
don't understand. And if only I could have done that then, I would have
Yeah.
felt really different. But I'm doing it now, and it feels
Exactly.
great.
And
That's-
this journey is never ending, right? Do you ever believe in reincarnation or anything like that? Do you believe the soul carries on?
I believe energy carries on.
Energy
so
carries
I believe
on,
I don't
yes.
know what really that looks like, but I believe there's a certain amount of energy, and we're all part of that energy.
Yes.
And so there's something that we continue, like our energy continues. Hence why I feel in this lifetime it's really important to work on our own
Yeah.
energy and leave behind good.
Yeah. And
Energy
it's
and
shape
connections.
shifting, I think, all the time. But it can never die. That energy will continue. So that's why I feel like I used to feel that, damn, if I'd known it then, I mean, I had so much opportunity in my life, was so blessed, but I never saw it. And I would sabotage it. But then I think, hang on, I know it now. And that's going to keep evolving, which is why I am where I am. Because it is a constant. It doesn't end when I end, because I don't end. Only this role that I'm playing ends. And again, we are playing these roles in a movie still, but we've got to detach from the character and say, I'm going to play this part really well, but I know it is just a character. And underneath that is the real me.
Mm-hmm.
And that can never go.
Totally.
So it's, I think it's a brilliant journey, you
Yeah.
know. And even when it's not good, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Because the not good is leading to the next part.
And the other thing I live by is that
Yeah.
this isn't a dress run at life, this is life. So like
Absolutely.
every day I did a meditation with my members this morning and kind of
Did
left
you?
them with an idea of being so grateful for like even just today, that you wake up and be like, oh, I'm here for another day, and like
Yeah.
I've got, wow, I'm breathing, and wow, okay, the sun, there's blue skies today, how lovely. And so it's like noticing that stuff. You go into your day in such a different mood, because
Yeah.
instead of being like, okay, I have 50,000 things to do, I don't know where to start, I'm stressed, yes, all that's true, and you're here.
And you're here.
And it's, you know, this is a moment to celebrate and to be grateful for.
Maude, with your work the way it is, I guess no 2 days are ever the same, and that can be unsettling. How do you top and tail the day, or what is a typical day that is working for you? How does it look? How could people structure their day? Especially now people work from home, then they're in the office some days, they don't always know what they're going to be doing. Can you give us a tip for structuring your day well? What does yours look like? I can't believe you've already done a meditation session, not on your own, but with your
Community.
group, with your community. Unbelievable.
I actually quite like being in the unknown, unstructured world. So for me, I know that structure is really helpful for a lot of people, but I do, I guess, like a little bit of structure, which I'll talk about. But for me, I quite like just trusting the kind of process of the unraveling of what it's supposed to be. But I think waking up in the morning, one of the things I saw, I think it was Oprah said yesterday, was that she wakes up every morning before she opens her eyes, she just goes, thank you. Thank you for that. And that's a lovely, like, it just like little tiny rituals you can do. For me, a short morning meditation can be a game changer. So whether I'm teaching it or whether I just, for myself, find a moment to meditate, sets my day up completely differently. And then if I can, and if it's bright enough, I love going for an evening walk after, like, to separate work and evening. Actually just having some time in nature, I think, is like that reset that's really helpful.
And is yoga your main form of physical exercise apart from walking?
Yoga, and I'm actually training in Qigong at the moment as well, which is a beautiful practice based in Chinese medicine.
And super slow. And that's hard. To slow down to that level is really challenging.
Yes, but
we want to go.
We do want to go, but I really love with Qigong actually this idea that it's connected to the different organs, and you can move to kind of help, knowing very specifically, you know, if you've got stomach issues, if you've got heart issues, there's movements that can untrap the energy of that area of the body, and I think that's something that I can't wait to kind of dig deeper in and be able to support.
Will you teach
people.
that then?
I think so, yeah.
Because again, different people suit different things, and it's nice to mix it up a bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what's the best book that you've ever read that people should read, do you think?
I love the book The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. It's all about how whatever we go through in our lives, so whether there's trauma, however big or small trauma is, that your body holds it, and so there's processes to remove that allows you to be much more in tune with yourself and healthier. So that was a really big one. Eckhart Tolle I love. A New Earth, I think, was one of my first kind of deep dives into this work, that I was like, oh, my mind has shifted. I feel different.
Because I saw him on Oprah when she did the New Earth series, and that's when I brought the book, and it just was like unreal.
I think those are two that stand out for me.
Is there anything you wanted to share with us?
I've
just thrown questions at you.
It's been brilliant. What a lovely chat. I mean, I think at the moment there is a really powerful energy of everything's very fast. There's a lot of anxiety, and we do a group check-in in my membership, and yesterday I would say 90% of people have a cold, a flu, a stomach thing, something that's going on because there's so much stress and anxiety around.
What are people getting anxious about, do you think? What's the main culprit?
I think it's a mixture of things. I think we've come out of lockdown where everything was really slowed down, and we kind of figured out ways to look after ourselves a little bit in that. We've come back into life and everyone's just jumped back to normality, but our bodies aren't quite ready for it. So we've gone into almost like over pushing to try and feel normal, and so both like socially and work and internally there's just so much doing.
So people blame it on digital, but you're right, we finally recognised what our innate nature was, and we started to get comfortable with it, and now we've been jarred back out of it, and it doesn't feel right. You're right.
So I think it's just, you know, and
which is why your career work is the next step, to say, okay, you don't have to live that life anymore, you can find that balance. But how do people trust that they'll find an income in that? When you have a steady income, which is golden handcuffs, how do you trust that you can give all that up and still pay your mortgage?
Well, sometimes this is what this workshop's all about. It's not about necessarily having to leave the job. It's like, can you create, like, in this dynamic, can you find more purpose in what you're doing? Can you find, like, take a little bit of your sense of identity from the work and find something else that you love that will give you more energy for the work?
Right.
Could you do 3 days at that job that you're doing and find something that you could do to part-time that's going to fill you. Like, there's many different solutions. So it's not about jumping ship and just doing something that's completely different. It could be. Some people might have this calling that's like, actually, yes, now I found out I want to jump and do it.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, we're not saying, here's the thing, go away and just teach meditation forever. It's like, find what it is that you love, and how can we introduce this into your life in a very in a secure way. And not, it's not about taking huge risks. It can be for some people, but for other people it's just about finding more purpose in the life that we're living, because I think that's what a lot of people are feeling lost in at the moment.
Definitely. And how do you, the people that come to you that are anxious, how does that mainly manifest? What does that look like? I mean, when I think of anxiety, I think of my throat chakra gets blocked. I can't breathe. I literally would say I can't breathe, and then therefore I need to breathe. And this feeling of, and it often with a Vata type personality, which I am, and you're Vata, I would say you're Vata Kapha, looking at you. So Vata people will second guess and blame themselves for things that are really not theirs to own when they're anxious. That's how it manifests, is it must have been my fault. And when Pitta is anxious, they will say, it must have been your fault. And then when Kapha are anxious, they just want to retreat and not even see anyone. So that's kind of how anxiety looks to me with those different types. How does it manifest with the people that you see?
It's different for everybody. Yesterday in the group, because it's nice to kind of see collectively what's happening in different people, and for lots of people anxiety can be in their stomach, so they get upset stomachs or like cramping sensation. So physically what's happening for them is stomach stuff. Breath, always, like people's breath gets short and shallow and it all comes up here, so reassuring people to deepen the breath, and it will change how they feel. Overthinking, when people get anxious, another thing that happens is they almost disconnect from their bodies and go into their mind, so that's when the overthinking happens, and you can get trapped in a circular thought pattern
and start looking at social media
and get scrolling and all of that stuff. So absolutely, that stuff happens. So they're the kind of different ways that it manifests. And as you said, for some people, retreating and just feeling like, I don't want to be in this space, I don't want to share, I don't want to do any of that, and people kind of going into themselves in a kind of deeper way, and encouraging that even talking about it can be a really important part of the coming out. And
your community does that. And finally, Maude, you are big on social media, and it's a wonderful tool because we get to find someone brilliant like you, so it's wonderful. But how do you put limits on your time on social media? Are you good at that? Are you good at splitting your...
I'm not as good as I'd like to be.
I don't think
all
any
of us, I was
are.
going to say, we're all, it's there as a kind of addictive process, and we all get caught into it. I do have a ban on my phone that from 11 till 2,
That's
all my
brilliant.
apps shut down. So
11 in the
AM till 2 PM.
That's great.
So I have like those hours where...
How do you do that? Everything
you can
shuts
do it on
down.
your settings. I think.
Everything.
All my
so
apps
you
shut
can
down.
do, rather than having to do each one individually, you can just do it with
all of them.
Oh, brilliant.
So they all shut down. I keep my emails sometimes going, but everything else shuts down, which is really healthy for my mental health. And then the other thing that I've done is only follow people that inspire me. So I have no, I don't feel competitive in the world anymore at all, but I don't feel that like, oh my God, they're doing something I'd love to do. If anybody triggers me on social media, I just mute them. I just think, this is my mental health that I'm looking after. So knowing that if you are scrolling, if you're on there, just make it in a really kind of positive way, because you can, as you say, connect to people. Use social media for healthy connection and for learning, which is, I get so inspired sometimes when I'm on there.
Same, and it's inspiring visually as well. And I went to a party the other night where the guests were mostly people that, not mostly, a lot of the people there had met because of social media. And that's understandable because you're each other's vibe and tribes. It's going to happen. It's a wonderful thing. And those relationships are really deep if you actually meet the people and nurture them, and it's all good, but you have to know when to switch off. And my problem is the time I can't look at social media that much in the day because I'm working, so the only opportunity I get is in the evening when I'm relaxed, but that's the last thing I should be doing at that time because I should be relaxing. And even though I might trick my mind into thinking it's relaxing, it's not really. So I did commit to it and it was working brilliantly, and I've fallen off the wagon. But my thing was, okay, give yourself 40 minutes because it's not realistic for me to say 20. It's not going to happen. You go into a rabbit hole, don't you?
You do.
Give yourself 40 minutes, because I enjoy learning. Like, if I were looking at your feed, I could be on there for 15 minutes learning, and that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. But at some point I have to say stop. So mine is 40 minutes, probably around 7:30, so that after that I can switch off. But it has fallen off the wagon. Don't be surprised if you see a green light on my face at, 10 in the evening. I admit it, but I commit today that you won't see that.
Yeah.
It's going to stop.
Committing in the moment is all we can do. Another thing, actually, talking about kind of daily rituals that you can do is making sure you don't have your phone in your bedroom. It's made such a difference to my mental health. To not.
And your boyfriend's the same?
Well, no, he uses it for his alarm, and luckily then he can wake me up and be my alarm. But he, that's been the loveliest thing, like me just not having my phone near me, so that first thing in the morning isn't, oh my gosh, there's an email that I didn't want to see. Like,
you're right.
It changes.
And it could even be one you did want to see, but it can all wait. It can all wait. I love speaking to you so much. Thank you so much. We even got you water. All we got you is water. It's tragic. And you haven't even had a chance to drink it because we were full on. And Maude helped me to set up live because I didn't even know how to do that. So thank you so much, Maude.
You're so welcome. If anybody wants to find me on here, you can follow me on obviously Instagram, and lots of my things that I have coming up, like the masterclass, will be on there. But also maudehirst.co.uk is my website. So come and chat to me, ask me any questions. What a pleasure.
It was lovely. So lovely. Yeah, please sign up for the course, because I can't imagine there are many of you who don't want to reassess your work-life balance. So to me, that sounds like a really, really good starting point. And of course, it incorporates meditation because it's all part of the same thread. Absolutely. So I think that's a really good rounded course to go on. And I'll be looking in as well. So looking forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, Annabelle. I'm gonna do it, Annabelle, with Maude's help, so I won't let you down.
Let's hope. How do we stop?
So there. Yeah, and then